Good afternoon, Miss Francis. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm a bit disheveled given the short notice that I actually have a class today.
Um, no man, I think we're missing something. How so? Hello? Are you hearing me?
I'm here. I'm here. Hearing me?
I'm hearing you now, right?
I was trying to share my screen while so but yes, even though I sent you all the information, I didn't get any response. I didn't see anything coming in relation to any Zoom. So I thought, okay, we're not starting this week. We're gonna finalize and then we're gonna start some other time.
No, 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 no. When we had our conversation, that was a sealing of it. You know? Remember, so we're praying now. Same time we pray about some seal. So seal received right there and then, No man.
Are you
Um,
seeing my screen though?
I am seeing your screen,
Okay, great.
looking fancy and bossy. No man, and as a matter of fact, the day after you sent me this stuff, I think was, if I'm not mistaken, you sent me the day when, oh Lord, we were having our Jeans Day at school, and I was having a conversation with Marvia about you. The pair of us were talking to say, I like what the effort and the energy putting in, and in my spirit, I think that boy, you may need to think of doing some part-time teaching along the side because you can't just have this wealth of knowledge and just holding it to yourself. So in my headspace, everything was copacetic and see. But remember, I told you that I met with the students and told them that you were coming in on the Wednesday and the Saturday. The Wednesday was fine, but they were having some clashes with the Saturday. So I said to myself and them that when we get here tonight, we're going to have that conversation. Just get some housekeeping out of the way because I'll be here with you for a portion at a time, just to get the
Mhm.
whole out of the way for them to come to an agreement with the face-to-face session. So last week, this
Right.
time I met them and I had a conversation, say to them that you're coming on, et cetera, et cetera. And I just couldn't. The Wednesday was fine. The Wednesday 68 was fine, but we just
Mhm.
couldn't put a time on a Saturday. Yeah, man. So no, man. For me, it was set. And I know this week was a rough one. By the way, how you flared out with the Earthquake on Monday?
Well, I was working from home on that day. Other than it being a very scary experience,
Trust me.
I kind of just froze. I was like, what
Yeah,
is going on?
trust me. To be honest with you, to this very day, I have times of that sort of dizzy spell that I got from it.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a facility downtown, and downtown, if you know, is built up. It was really sand, and they built it up because, well, the
Right.
whole of King Street was water, and I was pretty much beyond King Street. So the building that I was in, to be honest with you, it felt as if it lifted off the ground and then went back down. My way of describing it is when a plane landing and a plane touched down and it bounced up and then go back down, that's how the building felt to me. And then when
Mm-hmm.
I looked up, I saw the building. I was in the building and the building was rocking from side to side. Literally, I saw that
Yes.
happening.
Yes.
And that feeling of spinning, they say when you go into the giddy house, you feel giddy. That
Yes. Yes.
that feeling of giddiness is still lingering with me. And every now and again I go through it and I just have to close my eyes and it is just not a nice feeling. It really isn't a nice feeling. But I'm just giving God thanks that we are here at the
Yeah.
college. A few students who had to seek medical attention, and Dana and Joanna has joined. Good evening, ladies. Okay, I see that. Right. So we had a few students who needed medical attention. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
so surprising that I was told when they went to Joseph, which is our preferred place of medical care because it's so close to us,
Mm-hmm.
back because they were overwhelmed with patients, you know, as a result of the earthquake. And when they took them to KPH sent them back and said that they don't have no space to take anybody else. So we had to take them back to campus and, you know, try and do what it is that we could do through our wellness center and our school
Mm-hmm.
of nursing, and for those who were trained in first aid. So it was really devastating. But
Yes, must have been a really rough time.
it's one of those things that keeps reminding us that God is God and God is in control. And, you know, when we believe
Yeah.
as Him that we can do things and, you know, we couldn't make an earthquake come that magnitude. And you see, some people say that, but 5.6 is not strong. 5.7 is not strong. You see the damages that it has caused across the
Yes,
island?
that was strong.
It was,
Enough.
trust me. The young people nowadays, when they say strong, they must say strong, right? But
Mm-hmm.
yeah. All right. Dana, Joe, I don't know if you can touch base, Joe, with Tiana. Did she touch base with you the other day? I asked her to.
Uh, she only messaged me wondering if the class was keeping her now.
Say that again, Joe.
So she was only messaging me wondering if the class was keeping her or not. So
Oh,
after
okay.
I
Well,
read,
sent her a message. I sent her a message, and all right, let me touch base with her so that I don't have to go through this. Where is she?
so a question though, did Mr. Sylvester reach out to you?
If Mr. Sylvester spoke to me?
Yeah,
No, he didn't. He's supposed to talk to me.
yes, he was.
Okay, I haven't heard from him since um I sent him the link for the last class. All right, so
Oh,
I sent
so there was some kind of mix up yesterday with the classes.
in terms of what?
Because Mr. Sylvester said that he spoke with Mr. Kelly in doing theory of interest, but when I was in the class, I saw Mr. Kelly teaching theory of interest, but I wasn't hearing anything. So I left to talk to Mr. Sylvester and he said he was going to speak with you. So
Oh,
that's
lordy, lordy.
that's all. But
All right.
Mr. Sylvester taught me theory of interest last night at 7.
So he taught a theory of interest last night, and then no, the five to no at 7 to 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But the
didn't know that.
sorry, say that. Do you know what was that? Do you know?
I didn't know about the theory of interest class.
Do you know? You weren't here last week Wednesday when I had the meeting to tell you that Miss
I never
Francis.
get a link or anything. That's what I'm saying.
It's in the
Oh, you
class
didn't
guide.
get the link. Okay.
Oh, all right.
You didn't get the link at all?
No, sir.
All right. I apologize about that. But you don't see no email at all coming to your stuff with the class schedule?
Sir, that's supposed to be there.
Yeah, man. So it's from there that Jonah got the link, you know. All right, so double check on the class schedule that would have come out. Because I know it came out for the last 2 days again because we reverted to online teaching because of the structural engineers are actually assessing the damages to the campus college wide. So everything should be done and hopefully everything is passed so we can resume face to face tomorrow. So check the link. All right. Let me give Miss Post privilege. Oh, I need to first. Okay, so Tiana has read my message. Let me just do something here. 1 minute, please. All right. So Tiana is here.
Share my screen, you know. I don't know when you change my screen.
My dear. Oh goodness. What's her name again? Got to remember her name. Is missing in action. She's MIA. Trishana George is MIA. So Miss Francis, that's a fourth student. I will still try to touch bases with her. I've made you host, Miss Francis. So students, with us tonight, good evening again. Good evening, Tiana, you just joined. With us is Miss Camille Francis. Um, she is a banker um, by profession. You will see her name on her slide. She's a banker by profession, and she has answered to a call that was sent out. I'm giving thanks for her for assisting us with the lending. You would have known that all of last school year I have been trying to find someone to fill this gap. As I would have told you, we got someone, but it so happened another banker from a competing bank. I won't tell you which bank Miss Francis is at, but Miss Francis will know the other bank would be her competition. But it so happened that that individual, her father became very, very sick to the point where she is actually, spending as much time as she can with him because he's very sick. So as a result of that, she was unable to take on the task for us. And out of deep concern, I spoke with a team member who says, I have some good up, quote unquote, tips that I can touch base. And Miss Francis responded to the call. So Miss Francis, again, I've expressed my sincere thanks to you some time ago, but again, I would want to put it on record in front of the students to say thank you for availing yourself to share the wealth of knowledge that you have gained, having spent these many years into the banking system. Students, I would hope that you will give Miss Francis and the team, because Miss Francis has volunteered one or two of her colleagues who will take on different section of the curriculum as she sees fit. You would understand that within the banking sector, and Tiana is a young banker, Mrs. Francis, and
Okay.
right. So she's at the number 3 bank. If I were to say, if that is allowed, Tiana, she's at the number 3 bank. So Miss Francis, you will know which is the number 3 bank, and you will recognize that if when you're in the banking system, you you'll be placed in a particular area, and as the bank sees fit, they may promote you to another area, and as they see fit, you may be promoted to yet another area. So Mrs. Francis is one of those blessed ones to have had that wealth of knowledge, having worked in other areas, in several areas of the bank, where it is that she would have gained that wealth of knowledge. So it is that she is able today to share with us. But there are colleagues of hers who have been in specific areas that she will have information, but in her headspace, saw it fit that those persons may serve best in presenting that area. So students, I'm going to ask that you give Mrs. Francis and her team when her team is introduced. I'll be here. I won't micromanage Mrs. Francis, but I will be here just to make sure that things are fine. I trust that you guys will come out to class every day and you'll come to class on time to respect Mrs. Francis' time, and also that you will respect your own time. One of the things that I would want us to continue with, I know we had a conversation on Wednesday last, and we just couldn't pin down a time where it is that we could have that face-to-face session. Now, Mrs. Francis and team would love to have a face-to-face session. So I would love if, and I did ask you to think about it, I would love if we could have that conversation sometime in class today, so it is that we can get that extra session out of the way. One may wonder, sir, do we have enough time to cover the course at this stage? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, because what it is that is going to be required of you is to do some self-directed learning as well. So Mrs. Francis will present different concepts, and she'll also present other areas where it is that you guys will do some research and come to class and do some presentations. And so it is that some self-directed teaching and learning can take place. It is a fun course. We have done this course a few times before. I think this may be the fourth iteration of such a course. But of course, I told you that person who did the course with us in the past has resigned. So it's a fun course. The students always love it. This one should be more fun because what it is that you have is a practitioner who is actually presenting the course. So in terms of real life, hands-on, day-to-day examples and support and so on, you'll be able to get those. So please let Mrs. Francis feel welcome, and I trust that you will give her your fulsome support by doing your work, so it is that we don't have a delay in what it is to be done. Are there any questions from you students before I hand over to Mrs. Francis? Are there any questions based on what I just said?
No, not from me.
No,
Okay,
sir.
Joe. Okay, Dana, Tiana, Titi.
Sorry, no, sir.
Okay, good, thanks. Okay, Mrs. Francis, I will turn over to you.
Okay, thank you. Is everyone hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. All right. So as Mr. Shant already said, my name is Camille Francis. I am currently the manager of the Treasury Back Office in one of the banks in Jamaica. And just to let you know a little bit about my background, I'm really an accountant by profession. And I've been a part of internal audit in the banks and did some external auditing of the banks before becoming part of the internal audit department in the bank as well. And what internal audit does for anybody who goes into a bank is it exposes you to all the areas without you having to work in there. So it gives you a bigger and broader perspective. So I'm happy to be a part of this course. I'm sure there are things you can learn from me, and there are things I can learn from you. It's not going to be a one-way street. And since it's so few students as well, it has to be an open conversation as we go along. Tiana, I'm interested to know what you do currently in the bank.
I'm currently an operations support officer, so I process payments. I work in the payment and trade services center.
Okay, all right. And so the payments that you process are usually for corporate customers as opposed to individuals?
They're for individuals. They're wire transfers.
Wire transfers, all right. Okay, all right. Good, interesting. So one of the things that I want to understand from all of you also is what has been your experience with lending so far on a personal level or otherwise? What is your experience with lending and what do you know about it? When I get that feel from you, we can know what direction we're going to take and how we're going to go about this. I hope that even if you haven't been exposed personally to lending, I'm sure you've heard an ad, you know, somebody who take out a loan and have some kind of experience. So what do you think about lending in Jamaica? And I'll start off with Johanna, and then Dana, and then Tiana.
I want to go first, miss. I want to go first. There is a lovely thing on TikTok that says, Give me my money back. Hey, give me my. Anybody hear that on TikTok? Is just me alone hear that on TikTok? When
Sir, I'm
they
not
show the
sure what side of TikTok you're on, but I've never heard that.
okay, Joe, leave me alone. Dana, have you heard that before?
No, sir.
Oh my goodness, clearly I'm on the old side of TikTok. Tiana, you hear that before?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you, Tiana, for saving me. So there is lending companies, when people default on their payback, they have this tune, give me my money back, and the faces of the borrowers is on screen, and they will tell them that the person came in to borrow $250,000 and they can't find them to pay back their money, which is very embarrassing. So for that, this is what I know about lending. Give me my money back.
Okay. All right. So Johanna, what is your experience with lending and what do you think in Jamaica?
That when you lend out something, is not everyone is guaranteed to give it back to you. That's basically it.
All
My mom
right.
says interest is required and a payment scheme.
Okay. Interest is required. All right. Anything else? That's it from you?
And that's it, basically.
All right. Next, it was Dana.
So personally, for me, lending, I don't really like it because interest will burden you because so I just don't think it's a good thing, but it really helps with people some understand why it's there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you have ever taken a loan before, Dana?
Nope.
All right. But the other people's experience and know that the interest is a killer.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Tiana.
What are my thoughts on lending or
What has
loan?
been your experience with lending in Jamaica? What do you think about it?
Experience with lending in Jamaica.
Have you ever borrowed?
No, I would like to avoid that. I don't like the idea of being in debt, but I do process loans on a daily basis. I've seen them. I think it's quite interesting, like especially mortgages, because mortgage is also a loan. For mortgages, I think it's quite interesting how the requirements to get it. It's not hard. It's not hard to really get it, but the interest is the part. The interest is the interesting part where them give you a bag of years to pay it back, and you're like, oh yeah, I can pay it back, and then I don't think people really think that as the years go by, the interest increase, and that's more money you have to pay back with the loan. So, but I'd like to avoid loans as much as possible.
Okay, I think we would all like to avoid loans as much as possible in life. But guess what? We wouldn't have as many banks and financial institutions if that was a possibility. At some point, we're going to need to borrow some money. And that's just the truth of the matter. It's a part of life. So I hope that throughout this course, we can learn a little bit more about it. I like the apprehension though. People who are apprehensive about loans and who don't want to run into it, those are the ones that are more careful and more likely to repay the loan. So that's a good thing. So as we go along, we will learn a little bit more about what these institutions look for, what is involved in the process. And Tiana, you said it's easy to get a mortgage. I don't necessarily think so. There are some factors that factor into it, but we're going to learn about it. And maybe it will be very easy for some persons, but not as easy for others. What are our options when it comes to lending, and what should we be thinking about before we get into that? Because it's a very serious thing. So this is just an introductory class today. We're just going to go into a few of the concepts. I hope you're seeing my screen. Are you?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. So I wanted to talk about a little bit just about what is a loan really. And you guys have already said a lot of what a loan involves or what it is. It's really an agreement between a lender and a borrower for the use of a sum of money, which is to be paid at a later date or over a particular period. And the cost associated with that is called interest. That's the thing we don't like, the extra, right? But guess what? You know, there are some cases, if you really think about it, where they may lend you and they don't necessarily charge you interest per se. You ever have a friend that lend you money and, and she just ask you back for the money and nothing else? Those instances has ever happened to any of you?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so sometimes you borrow and you're not necessarily asked for interest. Institutions don't do that though, most cases, unless it is that you're a staff member and they have a particular, what do I call it now, a benefit where you can borrow money and pay it back without interest. But in most cases, we don't come across those types of loans very frequently. So anywhere you go and them offer your loan and you have to pay no interest, use it up. It's a very, very good benefit. All right, some of the characteristics of a loan, we spoke about them earlier. There is a payback period and there is a cost associated, which is called interest. There is also an agreement. So most times, if you and your friend go into an arrangement for a loan, we just say, all right, when you're going to pay me back? And you agree on when that is going to happen. Or if you're going to pay me back in a 2 installment or 3, or you're going to pay me back in 2 months or 6 months, right? But normally, that's a verbal agreement, but normally there's a written agreement when it comes down to dealing with institutions. So you have to sign something that defines the terms of your loan. And the terms of your loan is going to indicate what is the interest, what is the payback period, and also what is your collateral, which is another feature of the loan. Anybody know what collateral is?
As in something you have to give up if you don't pay back in time. Is it that?
Okay. Well, yes, that's true. Any other definition of what collateral is? Anybody else?
Something you would give, so like it's a guarantee that I'm going to pay you back because you have this for me.
Right. So it's like a security. So it's like when your friend lend you the money and she said, all right, I'm going to hold on something where you value. It has to be something of value. Collateral has to be something of value, because if you don't value anything, then there's no point in holding on to it. And there's an informal loan sector, which you guys might know about. You have some loan sharks. So you have some individuals that is not an institution. They're not governed by anybody, but they lend people money and they hold on to something just in case you decide you're not going to pay. You don't get back that thing. So like a TV, which have somebody them can go and sell it. They can hold on to that. Or something else that you have of value. That is your collateral, right? And some financial institutions, depending on how much you borrow, they want to know what's the reason that you're borrowing for. I think one of the things you need to be aware of as well is that loans and lending involve movement of money. And so there is a thing that you have to consider when it comes down to movement of money, and that is in our financial system. You hear people talking about scammers and talking about money laundering. So loans is one of those methods that they will use. And so there are some rules and some policies that some of the financial institutions have to put in place to avoid the loans and the financial institution being used as a money laundering vehicle, right? So when you're borrowing more than a certain amount of money, they want to say what you're borrowing it for, and sometimes they want evidence of your purpose for borrowing so much money, right? So those are some of the features of the loan. Is there anything that I left out that you're aware of that is another feature of the loan based on what you know? Or you think we covered it?
I think we've covered. Wait, is how you pay back the loan, a part of it.
Right. So that is what we call our payback period. So when you
Yeah.
say how, what are you saying something outside of our payback period?
Yeah, like in, no, I don't think so.
I think you're onto something there.
I
So
you have to have proof of income. Like how do you how you plan to you have to show how you plan to pay back the money you're borrowing.
mhm.
And also have a percentage of the money because I don't think they cover 100% everything if they're aware of what you're going to use the loan for. Like for mortgages, it'll be like 90%, up to 90% a mortgage. Or I think the same thing for a car loan.
All right. So for different financial institutions, and I'm glad you touched that, because when we look at the advertisements and financial institutions and how they advertise, we're going to look at some of those things. So one financial institution might tell you that I can finance 100% of your car loan. And another one might say, no, you have to find 10%. I only finance up to 90%, right? And that is how some of the financial institutions compete. They compete on these different things that affect the customer and how they pay back the loan. So it might be how much you finance as the borrower versus the lender. It might be the time that I take to give you the money to do what you want it to do. It might be the amount of fees I charge you to process the loan that they use as the competing basis. And it might also be that my interest rate is what I compete on. One institution might charge a higher interest rate than the other. So these are some of the things that are, I'd say not necessarily, I didn't call them a characteristic per se, because those vary. And when you come to your agreement, you will see all the different facets and so on. But any loan that is going to take place, it must have a payback period. It must have some interest. There must be an agreement. And sometimes we will have collateral. That is why I have an asterisk there, because you have unsecured loans. Not every loan is going to have a collateral. And there should be a reason if the amount exceeds a certain level, right? So that's why there's an asterisk there. It's not always the case that you have collateral, and it's not always the case they're going to want the reason. It depends on how much you're borrowing, right? Okay, moving on. So there are different types of lending institutions. And based on the outline we have for this course, we're going to be looking at a cross-section of them. You have large lending institutions, you have small lending institutions, you have institutions that cater to individuals, you have institutions that cater to small businesses or large corporate businesses. There are different types of lending institutions. And we also want to look at those and be aware of those in the space. So in Jamaica, what are the different types of lending institutions that you are aware of? Have you not necessarily, you wouldn't have necessarily had to deal with all of them, but then what are the different types of lending institutions that you might have seen, you might have heard somebody speaking of, have an experience with it, or there might have been an ad in relation to it? What are they? Let me not share my screen first. What are they? What type of lending institutions are there? So I'm gonna,
Sagicor,
no, what type of lending institution is Sagicor?
commercial.
It's a commercial bank. So who do the commercial banks normally deal with?
Is it that the individual persons?
Yes, that's one part of their customer base, but they deal with others too.
Oh, I'm not sure of any others. I just figured like the individuals.
Right. That's true. Any other type of institution that you know of?
I don't want to say all of them because I was writing while you were on the slides. So
All right. Yes, so you have commercial banks. What other type? Since you were writing, which ones you got?
I just got the commercial banks.
Yeah, all right. So I wanted to think now and tell me what other ones you hear about. Only commercial banks you hear about?
Credit unions,
Yes,
like
true.
First Heritage.
Mm-hmm. Any other?
No, I don't have any other. That's well,
That's
Student Loan Bureau. I have those. Does that count as like a loan or
yes, it
okay?
is. Yes, it's just that they probably deal with one specific type of customer base. But yes, student loan bureau, yes.
Does courts count as a loan? As somewhere that loan? Because I work at courts, but
Who
when
works
I'm
at courts? Who is this? Dana?
no, Johanna.
Johanna, you work at courts.
Yeah, I work in payments, but when I'm looking at payments, I see loans and all of that. So I'm wondering if courts counts.
Right. So courts is I'd say a hybrid type of financial institution in that they are I'd call them, so they deal with smaller loans. The ready cash, courts ready cash actually lends people money, right? And I think ready cash also deals with the hire purchase agreements, which is where persons may take out furniture or appliances and they take it out on a loan. So courts end up working like a one-stop shop. They don't just sell furniture and appliances, they also give you the loan to buy them. And they can also give you a cash loan for other reasons because they've gone into that business. They've branched out into microfinancing. That's what we call, that's the new term that they're calling those types of companies, microfinance companies. So Courts Ready Cash is one of them. Do you know any other microfinance companies? Anybody can tell me?
I
So
have no idea. I just thought of course alone.
yes, yes, Tiana, you work in the banking sector too, don't? So you should be able to tell me some of these what they call microfinancing companies. Tiana, you
Hello.
going to sleep on me?
No.
So tell me one microfinancing company that you know about. There are so many. I don't know. I don't know them.
WorldNet.
Yes, there you go. That is one of them.
Okay.
COK is a credit union.
Okay.
Right.
JN Small Business Loan.
JN Small Business Loans is, I wouldn't call them necessarily microfinance, but yes, you could probably categorize them there. You could probably categorize them there. So let's I like the examples I'm getting. Let us look a little bit more at it. So there are financial institutions for just about any borrower. If you're an individual, if you're a small business, if you're a corporate entity, any borrower has a financial institution that can cater to your need to borrow money because it's big business. So we have our commercial banks, Scotiabank, Sagicor, National Commercial Bank. I don't know anybody call NCB. NCB in the news so frequent these days, right? And these commercial banks are governed by the Bank of Jamaica. And when we say govern, what that really mean? What Bank of Jamaica do with these financial institutions? Maybe Tiana can tell me because she works there, and give me an idea what is the purpose of the Bank of Jamaica when it relates to commercial banks?
Unfortunately, I have no. I know it's a central bank. That's all I've ever really heard them say, but I have no idea how
Oh, all right. So
Bank of
let me
Jamaica.
give you a little idea about that. So commercial banks they report to the central bank. They are governed by the central bank. The central bank has oversight of commercial banks. Now, maybe you guys don't know about this because this happened long years ago. You might probably hear like a 1 and 2 person mention something about it. I wonder what am I talking about? But there was a financial, what you call a financial meltdown back in the day where a few commercial banks went under. So people who carry their money go to the bank, couldn't get them money. Bank lockdown, bank can't pay, right? And the Bank of Jamaica, therefore, has a very special responsibility. They have oversight of commercial banks, and they ensure that these commercial banks maintain viable operations by monitoring them. And they monitor them for different things. But basically, there are some ratios which the central bank institutes that these banks must maintain in their operations. So they must be liquid, they must have certain amount of money, they must keep certain amount of money with the central bank, that kind of thing, to ensure that they continue to be viable and people don't lose their money, right? If you maybe you don't watch local TV, but maybe some of you do. So the JDIC is one of the institutions that came about to secure some of people's monies when they deposit money into financial institutions, so that if anything happened, they can at least get back a certain amount because of what happened back in the day. Follow? Any questions?
No, not
All
for
right.
me.
So what kind of products now these commercial banks offer? Tiana was talking about mortgages, that she process mortgages and she process loans for individuals, right? Right, Tiana?
Yes, miss.
What other financial products are you guys aware of? So do you know what a credit card is? Johanna?
Yes, sir. It's a card
You know
where
what?
you use the bank's money and then you pay it back.
You
I
use the
think,
bank's money and then you pay it back?
or money, I'm not sure exactly. I only own a debit card.
You only have a debit card.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Dana, you know what the credit card is and how it works?
It's like the bank gives you money and you're spending it, so you owe them
No, you know.
the bank's money.
That's what people think. But it's not give the bank giving money and you spend it and you owe them. No.
Is it that the bank gives you a limit to what you can spend on the credit card?
Well, yes, there is a limit to each credit card. So there's a certain amount that you're allowed to use. Yes. So, all right. Anything else you know about the credit card?
I'm assuming that they give you like a statement. Is it at the end of every month that you have to pay back the money that you used?
Right. So the statement, you get a statement every month or every period, at the end of every period, which is usually a month's time. So it's not that everybody going to get them statement on the 30th or the 31st of the month. That's not it. But there's a cycle. Each credit card has a cycle. And your credit card statement might come off the 16th of every month. My one might come off the 30th of every month, depending on when we open the card and that kind of thing, right? But it's every 4 weeks that you're going to be getting a statement, right? So you have to be aware of your statement cycle and when your statement comes off and when your payments are usually due, right? Follow?
Yes, I am.
So you said that the bank gives you money when you have a credit card and you can use it. Well, it's not exactly like that. With a loan, the bank actually give you the money and you can decide whether you're going to use all of this money that you got from the loan to do what you said you were going to do, or you can decide to use it otherwise. With the credit card, it's normally referred to as a revolving line of credit. And revolving means that it renews or it starts over every month, so to speak, depending on what you use. So if I take my credit card and I'm gonna purchase something for 50,000 and my limit is 60,000, and I purchase something for 50,000, by the end of the month, them charging me interest, you know. So end of the month, I get a statement and it says 55,000, get 5,000 worth of interest on it. How much leave for me to use off the credit card?
Wait, you said it, you did what?
The credit card limit is $60,000. I bought something for 50,000. And when I got the statement, there was a charge for interest of 5,000. What's remaining for me to use based on the limit I have?
5,000?
Yes. So it's not that they necessarily gave it the money to you, because you could have bought something for 20,000, or you could have bought something for 10, or you could have opted not to use it at all, and then you wouldn't owe any money or any interest, right? But with the loan, once they disburse that loan to you, you shall be paying interest, whether you use the loan or not. Once you get that money, that loan is disbursed to you. Once Tiana process the payment and you get the money, interest start clocking. With the credit card, it is based on your usage and your repayment. So if I pay off all of that 55,000, I have a free 60,000 to use again next month instead of the 5, right? Follow? Any questions?
No, not from me.
All right. So that's one of the, so we have credit cards, we have mortgages, there are personal loans, there are business loans that the commercial bank offers, lines of credit, trade financing, bank guarantees. Anybody know what bank guarantee is? A bank guarantee is?
No, I do not.
Okay, usually that's something that is required in business transactions. Usually businesses who enter into certain arrangements, or they're going to perform certain services, say for the government, for example. So let's say the government hires Tiana's Paving to do a stretch of road, and they want to make sure that Tiana's Paving can afford all of the things that they need to buy to make sure some road done when the time come. So they have to ensure that they perform whatever service or whatever they are contracted to do. And these so therefore they need to give surety then. And sometimes these businesses can approach the bank to say, I need a bank guarantee to give to my the person I'm in contract with, to ensure that I can perform this particular contract that I've agreed. Similarly with your creditors, sometimes so they may require these types of things. Follow?
Yes, miss.
Yes,
All right. Tiana, you say you work in the trade. What is trade financing?
Payments and trade services. I only know about the payments. The payment side, just the payments.
Okay. All right. So sometimes you may need to finance paying your creditors, and sometimes your debtors don't pay you early enough so you can pay your creditors. So the bank can make an arrangement where I say I have 100,000 that is out there for me, and I need to pay a creditor $50,000, but I don't collect 100,000 yet, and they can arrange trade financing, or there are other arrangements in relation to that. And we'll go into that when we're going to corporate banking or corporate lending more. We'll talk about those things. So let's move on to the credit unions. We talk about COJ and CWJ Co-op Credit Union. I think there are other credit unions. There's Churches Cooperative that used to exist, which is now called FHC, I believe. And there may be other credit unions. To tell you the truth, this particular type of institution, I think it's dying a slow death. There aren't any new ones coming on stream. And those that are there, most of them are either merging or being swallowed up into something else. So it's It's a different type of institution, but it's not as popular. And what is unique about credit unions is how they are arranged, how they are organized. Each credit union member is a part owner of a credit union in essence, because you have to pledge a certain amount of money, you place a certain amount of money with them, and they pay you dividends on this money. So it's like you own part of the credit union. So it's a different kind of arrangement. The members of a credit union benefit from the credit union and the products that the credit union offers, right? So credit unions normally give you personal loans as well. They'll give you mortgages, and they'll give you, so personal loans can be used for motor vehicle and anything else. So there's a loan called a home equity loan too that can be had. Commercial banks give that type of loan as well. Anybody know what that is? We know about mortgages, right? What is the mortgage and what is the home equity loan? And what is the difference? Anybody can tell me?
Is home equity something to do with bills and all that? No? Yes?
No, I wouldn't say that.
And I don't know what.
Anybody else want to go at it? What is a home equity loan versus a mortgage? Anybody?
Could I give it a try, please?
Sure.
All right, so I think a home equity loan is you would have secured a mortgage with the company previously, and you would have had some equity in the property. So you purchase a house for $10 million. You've been paying for this house maybe 10, 15 years, and you have like maybe $5 or $6 or $7 million left. So you have a portion of the money. Well, you own now a portion of this property, and you find yourself in a bind. The earthquake came, and you had some structural damages, and because you have some equity in this property, you could possibly go to the bank to say, I am trying to access some of the equity from this property to go and effect some repairs, even though you should have some insurance because the bank has to secure.
Everybody hearing?
Yeah, but
No, he's breaking
Oh,
up.
I'm sorry. So in essence, you have equity in a property, and you are trying to access that equity. So the bank may decide to lend you. It may, I don't know, it is going to be at the same interest rate or a higher interest rate, but you have some ownership or some shares, or you can try to access funds from that. Don't know if I'm right. I'm just trying, miss. I'm learning too.
All right. So yeah, you're very much near there. So normally when people use the word equity, they make reference to shares. It's about shares. And shares really is just another name that they use to refer to ownership. So if you have shares in NCB, you're part owner of NCB. And as we mentioned a while ago, if you have shares in the credit union, you're part owner of the credit union, right? Shares is showing that you have some claim and some ownership of something. So equity in your home is really referring to your ownership of the home. And as Mr. Shan said earlier, you may have a mortgage is usually a loan that is secured by real estate property. We call it mortgage, and it's normally the mortgage you're gonna take it to buy this property. The first time you're buying the property, you take a mortgage, right? After a period of time, you would have paid off some of this loan. So if you pay off some of the loan, that means that you own more of the house. So initially, Tiana said you can only get 90% financing. So you did only want 10% in the initial stage, right? And as you pay down this loan, and you say you pay off half of it, you might get to the point where you now own approximately 50% of the house based on the value of the house versus the amount that is still left to be paid, or amount that is still left as the loan balance. So if you're going to take out some extra money then, so you're going to access some of what you pay off already. You're going to access some of your ownership. They call it a home equity loan. You're really taking a loan against what you own, right? Follow?
Right.
Right. So the home equity loan normally has a different type of percentage or interest rate applicable to it as opposed to the mortgage. And a mortgage is a more, what shall I say? It's more comprehensive in terms of the amount of collateral that a mortgage is going to take on from a property. But the home equity loan is not, normally you have more of a control over how much that loan is or how much that amount will be. One of the things why I say that you need to be aware of loans and you need to understand loans is because it's part of life. And unless you get into something that's going to make you super rich, you are going to need a mortgage. If you look at the price of houses and apartments these days, you are going to need a loan to help you to own one, right? So it means that you will have to, at some point, interact with lending and be aware of some of the things, right? So credit unions can give you mortgages and commercial banks can give you mortgages. But the credit unions don't usually give you credit cards. If you come across one that give credit card, you can tell me, but I haven't seen any that do. They don't go into revolving lines of credit like that. All right. So there are a few more. We spoke about the microfinancing institutions, and there was Torpedo Loans. You have Lasco Financial Access, Niche, Loan Mart. I don't know which one you don't have. You probably all have some underground ones too, right? These are microfinance institutions. And what makes them microfinance institutions is that they don't lend as much money as the others. Their loans are normally capped at about 3 million, 4 million, 5 million thereabouts, and that money can't buy your house, really. It's normally smaller loans that these institutions will give you. So you can use it for small business purposes. So a small business loan can range up to the 3 or the 4 or 5 million. And also these microfinance institutions, they don't give you credit cards either. They don't normally give you credit cards either. All right. Last type of financial institution I'm going to talk about is development banks. Now, this is a big one. Really, persons don't pay them no mind because guess what? They don't really deal with individuals per se. So the Jamaica Development Bank or the Exim Bank, they don't normally deal with individuals per se. They deal with business persons, yes, because the Exim Bank probably deals with more dealing with loans that are geared towards a particular aspect of the economy, agriculture, trade, and that kind of thing, and business type loans for export and so on, as well as Jamaica Development Bank and so on. Their lending is focused on specific areas for development. So I categorize the National Housing Trust as a development bank because they lend, but what do they lend for?
For houses.
Only, right? That's the only area that they lend for, right? So it's a particular area of development that the country or the government is focusing on. And so the National Housing Trust is dealing with the housing and making sure that people own their homes or have somewhere to live. So they only lend for housing. What do you guys know about NHT other than the fact that they lend for housing? What else them do?
They provide houses.
Right. So they also build schemes and they will sell you those homes at supposed to be reduced cost, as opposed to when private developers build their schemes or their apartments and sell them, right? It's supposed to be at a reduced cost. There's another thing that the National Housing Trust does though. And those of you who work supposed to jump up and tell me about it.
Refund!
Yes, refunds. And them also draw before them refund.
Talk truth.
So Tiana, you don't get an NHT deduction out of your pay. Eh?
I do.
Right. And Johanna, you get an NHT deduction out of your pay?
I have no idea.
All right. Maybe you don't. If you don't have no idea, that means you don't. Because if you look on your payslip and you see them taking out this thing called NHT, it's an amount that is deducted from every employed individual that is remitted to the National Housing Trust for this very purpose that we're talking about. Them say they build houses for people, right? So they deduct from all the working persons, and that is working persons who earn above a certain amount, of course. Because if you are say you earn minimum wage, you may not have that deduction. And if you work outside of the formal sector, say somebody you're working at home and you help the elderly, and you're not necessarily on a formal payroll, that might not be coming out of your pay. But once it's a formal business and they are operating within the guidelines of the government, they are going to be taking that deduction, and the NHT deduction. And the NHT takes 7 years before they refund you that money that they have taken. But you're supposed to get a benefit. And the benefit is every individual who has been contributing to the National Housing Trust is entitled to a loan to purchase a home up to a maximum of, I think it's 3.5 million now. Or is it 7? I don't remember what it gone to, but it's a nice amount of money. So you are entitled to that loan, and that loan is at a reduced interest rate, discounted interest rate, right? Everybody hear that?
Yeah,
That sound good?
I think it does.
Yeah, it means the government is helping you to own a home because they're making sure there is provision that you have a certain amount of money at a discounted interest rate, so you should be able to afford it, and you can therefore buy yourself a home. So one of the first things you're going to do when you think about buying a home is approaching the National Housing Trust to find out what you qualify for. Very important. If you don't remember nothing else out of this course, remember that. What you're going to do?
Approach the National Housing Trust.
When you're purchasing your home?
Purchasing. The most you can get is 3.5.
I think it went to 7. I think
But
it
it's
went to
not
7.
enough for a house at NHT though.
Like, is it enough for a decent house?
All
Like, so
right.
Well,
A decent
I guess
area.
if you're joining with someone, the benefit is almost double. So you can get
Yes, it's
um
double.
right. I think you can get up to five, if not $6 million from them. So if
Yes.
you have a spouse and the spouse is also contributing to NHT, it will
Right.
be 2 times as much. So you can get 3.5 each. You can get up to $7 million to borrow from them.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. So if you see a property for $10 million, NHT is giving you 70% of that. Well, not giving you, are lending you 70% of that. So all you need to do is maybe find a supporting financial institution that will lend you now the difference, which is a $3 million. Sometimes, as Tiana says, as Miss says, you may get 100% loan, or they may say to you that a 90% or a 95%, or whatever it is, the other financial institutions, maybe a credit union or a mortgage house, or a commercial bank will lend you the difference. But yes, always seek out your NHT first, because it is always at a much reduced rate, something like 5.6%. I don't think it reached 6%, but the commercial banks and the other institutions are charging double digit rather. So it is always best for you to seek any. If you don't learn anything else from the course, seek out NHT first.
Follow?
Yes.
Everybody follow?
Yes, yes.
All right. So Mr. Shan mentioned something a while ago, and I want to talk about the NHT a little bit longer. But he mentioned something a while ago. He called them, that's another type of financial institution, but they're dying out as well. Building societies.
Sorry, I've just been thinking about this. When it comes on to loans, I'd like to think that most people would like to, either avoid them, but when it comes on to the houses and stuff, because houses are so expensive nowadays,
Right.
you'd like to reduce it in a sense. So would it be the sensible option to be borrowing from multiple companies at once? Because Mr. Sean was saying, borrow from NHT, and then you borrow the 30% from somewhere else. And I'm just thinking that does not sound like,
Right. I like that
a
question.
great thing, because why would I do that? I wouldn't say why would I do that, but I'd like to, borrow, know that the money is coming from one place. So when I'm paying back, I can say, all right,
Oh, awesome stuff. I like where you're going.
yeah, every month when I get paid $50,000 out, I'm gonna pay if I go to this one place. I don't have
All
much
right.
thinking about that I have to pay back.
Right. So it's people like you and that desire that has driven the commercial banks to have a new approach and another way of marketing as it relates to mortgages, right? What has been happening recently is that the NHT has entered into agreements with, I think it's 2 financial institutions so far. I think it's Scotiabank is one of the financial institutions that has entered that agreement. And I think NCB probably was the second one to sign on, where it's joint financing. So, as you said earlier, $3.5 million cannot pay for these houses. And all the financial institutions are aware of that. So what used to happen before is that you'd have to, you don't have a choice in the matter. If you're going to own a home and you're going to borrow, most likely, if you're not wealthy like that, you are going to have a joint mortgage with NHT and another financial institution. It's a must. That's how it happens. You understand? So what these financial institutions say, boy, customer having a problem. Them have to pay you plus them have to pay we. Why don't we come to an agreement where I am the person that the customer is dealing with? All you do, you forward your money to me, I make sure you get back your money, and the customer just pay me one money every month. So that is the new direction in which the commercial banks are now going. So some of these institutions already have an agreement with the National Housing Trust. So you don't have to go and do an application at NHT, plus go and do one at the commercial bank. That's no longer a requirement. You deal with one institution. How that sound?
Sounds more sensible.
Yes. They know that NHT, unless you're going to buy a house in one of the more depressed areas, the amount that the NHT is giving you will not be able to cover the cost of purchasing a home. And so therefore, that's why persons join up with others to purchase a home, because if I am contributing to NHT, I qualify for the 3.5 million. And as Mr. Shan said, if I have a spouse and they're also contributing, we qualify for another 3.5. So it's 2 times. And I believe you can also join with other persons. I believe the NHT now allows, I think up to 3 or 4 persons can join together to purchase a property. Now, not telling them to go do that, because when 4 people own one property, it can cause contention. When 2 people own a property, it can cause contention moreover. Right? So be very careful about combining with too many persons, or combining in a way that might cause some problems. Right? I think they now also are have rules in place where, say for example, your mom used to contribute to NHT, but she never used her benefit. She never borrowed from the NHT. You can benefit, you can take her benefit. She can allow you to take her benefit. And so you would get the 2 amounts to go towards purchasing your home. Or you can take grandmas or mummies, that kind of thing, and you can combine with them now. So that is why I'm saying it's important that you approach the NHT when you're going to make that particular move, because there are ways and means that can help to lighten the burden when it comes down to your taking on a mortgage. And the more affordable your loan, the better off you are, not true?
Yes, miss.
The lower the interest. Remember somebody saying at the first part of the class that the interest is a killer. So the lower the interest, the better, right? Okay, so I mentioned building societies. Can anybody tell me what I said about building societies earlier? And anybody know what one is though? What is a building society? Don't know what that is? That mean you weren't listening to me? So the building societies were in financial institutions that the only thing they did was give mortgages. They were focused on real estate acquisition, so they only financed mortgages. And those were the ones that were interacting with the National Housing Trust and giving the loans jointly with them usually, right? At the same time, commercial banks are also giving mortgages. So the new thrust or the direction in which financial institutions are going now is that the building societies are dying out. You used to have Victoria Mutual Building Society. You used to have Scotia Building Society. I used to have Jamaican National Building Society as well. Any of you ever hear them name there?
No.
No, because they're dying out. They're swallowing up this business now into their commercial banks. And the commercial banks are the ones who are going to be giving these mortgages now. Follow? So what? You got me. Great. Because, you know, it used to be a hassle. The building societies used to be also have over the central bank, Bank of Jamaica had oversight of these building societies, and them have one bag of rules and returns where them have to do and all of that rigmarole. So the banks are now seeing that it makes sense that since commercial banks can give mortgages, they just bring that business right under the umbrella, and they're no longer having a separate business called the building society per se. All right.
Okay.
Any questions so far? Anything that is not clear?
Everything is crystal.
All right, good. Someone want to ask you a question now. Suppose you were a financial institution and somebody going to come to you, say they're going to borrow money. How you da assess them?
Wait, that was a general question or that was just for me?
General. How would you assess somebody who is coming to you to borrow your money?
Assess.
Yeah. Suppose I come to you and say, boy, Dana, I want 50,000 for borrow.
The first thing I'd ask is what you need the money for.
And that's the first thing you ask me? Why?
Yes.
I would want to know how much you're making to see if you're even eligible of paying me back.
Okay. And that's the first question you must ask me. Oh, you're going to pay me back. That's the first question. Yes. Yeah. Anything else?
How long will you take to pay back that set amount of money that you want to borrow?
All right. Yeah.
Like show me a pay slip or something. Give me like proof that you can pay back that said money.
Okay. All right. Yeah. But you know what? I could be earning the money that I can pay you back. Don't. I show you a pay. Sorry, I show you a pay slip. And my pay slip have 100,000 on it per month, right? I say, yes, you're supposed to get pay back $50,000 then, right? But what else would you need to consider other than just looking at my pay slip alone?
The collateral?
Yes. Collateral. In case you feel so well, I'm not so sure you're kind of shaky. Give me something for all. Anything else?
Like have an agreement that you can pay back this amount of money in set time.
Yeah, but we have a verbal agreement. You know, well, we might have verbally agree, or we might write it down and sign, right? But are your friend, you're not gonna write it down and sign. You're just gonna verbally agree. Don't.
In the loan business, we have no friends.
I like it. In a little bit, we have no friends. That's right. Okay. Anything else we can consider?
The interest, we should talk about the interest on it. Like how much interest, how much percentage of interest you're paying if you don't like pay back that time.
Well, so you it's two things you mentioned right there. So you have a thing called interest where you're going to pay me back on the money that me lend. And you have another thing called penalty if you're not pay me back at the time where you say you're gonna pay me back. But I want different thing from interest. Penalty. So yes. But still not hear one thing, there's one thing I want to consider, I'm not hear yet.
The payback period.
No, we talk about payback period already. So the time that
then
I would
I've
want to
gone
pay,
through
yeah. One more thing I want to consider before you say, all right, Megalenio. Actually, it's two. It could be
How
two.
much money you need now?
No, I'm tell you how much money when I come to you. I tell you, more 50,000 already. And I tell me, say, you're going to look for how much I earn. To say I can afford to pay you. And you tell me, some must carry something come for make you hold on it. Anything else, you need to consider before you say, yeah, mega pay, mega lend you. This is Jamaica, you know. And let me tell you guys, not a lot of Jamaicans like to pay.
Consequences.
You sound like you want to go work for somebody, I'm loan shark, Consequence, what kind of consequence?
The consequences of not paying back loan or interest.
There are consequences indeed. All right, so you don't tell me a couple of things that I wanted to consider as well.
Miss, me need to know where to find them. So me want address and proof of address. That's the first thing we want
Exactly.
to know.
Me need to know
Me
where to
want to know
find
to
them.
find them. Me want them mother,
Yes.
uncle, sister, cousin, brother, the puss and the dog name, so me know if me not
Yes.
get no money from them, me go find them and hunt them down.
Right. We need to know if we find them. And that is one. And then the next thing we need to know is whether you owe nobody else. Because
Absolutely.
you show me say you earn $100,000 and you come borrow 50 from me. Me don't know how much people you owe, how much you owe them otherwise. Me need to know how much people you owe and how much you owe them. Right? When you see that one?
Yeah.
And the next thing we need to know, what is your track record? You ever borrow yet?
And this is where the bureau comes into place now, miss. Because
Right.
okay, good. Because I'm now wondering, say I were to go to Joanna and say, Joanna, I need to borrow some money. She says, how much you want, sir? And I said, $50,000. She said, you owe anybody else? And I said, no, but really and truly, me no borrow from Tom to pay Harry.
Right.
And so how can she verify now that I have loans out there that are defaulting, or maybe they're not defaulting, but how can she verify that I'm actually because my pay stub is not, I'm not paying it through salary deduction, I'm paying it over the counter, or maybe it's not in a formal loan. So I don't know how. I'm interested to find out how else I can find out.
Right. So that is why I said, that is why I went there. So we talked about the characteristics of the loan at first, And so we know that there are certain things that generally we're going to see when we talk about loan. We're going to see about agreement. We know the agreement, we're going to talk about interest and all of those things and collateral and all of that. But when it comes onto the actual situation, before I even get into getting a loan, when I show up at an institution, what are they interested in? And why are they interested in that? The truth is, they want, every lender wants to be sure that you can repay the money. Me don't want to go a clam sell no TV or sell no vehicle. I don't really want it get there. But if it have to get there, right? I am more interested in your ability, and not just your ability, but your propensity to pay back my loan. Because when you pay it back as arranged, that is when I can make the amount of money that I intended to, right? There's no guarantee when I have to sell back the collateral that I go and make what I intended to make. I tell you, say I go lend you $50,000 and I want 10% interest. And you wanna give me back my money, no, I have to sell this TV. Me end up get only 30,000 for the TV. That means I'm not gonna get what I did intend, right? So we are interested in paramount, and most importantly, not whether you have collateral, but whether you can repay the loan as arranged or as agreed, right? And not only whether you can repay it, but whether you're the type of person who pays back loans. And this is where we have this particular institution called a credit bureau. Because guess what? Maybe you come to me and you tell me the truth because no deduction not on your pay slip. As Mr. Shan said, no deduction is there. So I don't know you have another loan. I don't know how much you're paying. But a credit bureau. Anybody ever hear about a credit bureau, by the way? Does one exist in Jamaica, you know?
I've never heard of one.
Wow. Okay. Who was that, Dana or Tiana?
Credit bureau. Yeah, I'm not sure about
Tiana? Not sure?
it. No, it's Johanna. Does First
Okay,
Heritage?
Johanna is not sure. All right. What about Tiana?
I think I have, but I don't remember the name.
All
I think
right. Mm-hmm. So you think one exists in Jamaica? Dana,
yes.
what you know about credit bureau?
I've only ever heard that there is one, but I'm not entirely sure about it.
All right. So ladies, this is where now we're going to learn and make sure we know about this thing called credit bureau and what them really have information from and what them over there saying. Does everybody in this class have a TRN?
Yeah, Smith.
Yeah.
Once you have a TRN, they are collect and you interact with institutions, they are collecting information on you. You need to know what they have on you. Anyway, before we get there, we're going to get into it a little bit more further in the course. I'm just introducing the idea to you now. So the credit bureau, I want you to have an idea of what they do in general. The credit bureau is a central, I'd say, I would call it a business because it is a business. You pay a fee. Each institution pays a fee to the credit bureau to access information on those persons who approach them to borrow. However, when you approach a financial institution and if they want to access information on you from the credit bureau, you have to give them permission to do so. So you will have to sign something to give them permission to reach out to the credit bureau to say, Dana has come to me. I need to know what her credit history is. And credit bureaus provide your credit history. What's your credit history? I mean, make sure only watch cable and only watch all kind of other shows so you know about credit history, don't it?
No,
Don't know about credit history?
no, I don't even have cable.
Even don't watch cable, you watch show. You know what show? You watch show at some point.
On Netflix, yeah, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have any credit stuff.
Anybody I'm talking about them credit score
No,
in none of the show them when you watch.
no,
I said them have bad credit.
absolutely none of those shows.
I've
All
heard that.
right.
Don't
Maybe
think
you
I-
watch a drama them or
I've heard it like in advertisements.
you've
like
heard
what
it in
does
advertisement?
I think there's an amount. Is it like below 500 and then your credit score bad or something like that?
All right, I like them kind of questions, you know. When I help me answer those things. And I'm going to answer it tonight. You're going to tell me, right? So there are actually 2 credit bureaus in Jamaica, operating in Jamaica. One of them is called CRIF NM, and I think the other one is called, I can't remember the name. What's the name of that one, dear Father? I don't remember the name of the second one, but that is something that you guys are going to help me with. There are 2 credit bureaus in Jamaica that are collecting information on persons. Once you have a TRN and you interact with businesses, they're able to collect information on you. So all these financial institutions who are lending, they have signed on with these credit bureaus so that they can access information, and the things that you choose not to tell them, they can see it on your credit report. And yes, there is a credit score, so they score you, and there is a credit score that is regarded as good, and there are credit scores that are regarded as bad. And that is one of the reasons why the institutions use them. Even some of your utility bills and those companies where you pay your bills, they also give information to the credit bureau. So if you not pay your bills on time, it's one of the things that will show your propensity to pay things that you owe. All right. So my slide in front of us now, and we're going to go back to the credit bureau. There's an assignment that I'm going to send out. I want you guys to do some work on the credit bureau and credit scores. All right. I want to find out, and I'm sure you're interested. How do they score people? How do I get a good score? How do I get a bad? How do I end up with a good score? How do I end up with a bad score? Right? So we're going to do some research. I'm going to ask you guys to do some research on that. It's important because I think even the National Housing Trust has signed on with the credit bureaus now. It never used to be a part of them, but they are now signed on with the credit bureaus. And so you have to be interested when you approach a financial institution, whether they have signed on with these credit bureaus or not. Because 1, they're going to charge you a fee to access that credit report. That's 1. 2, you will have to give them your authorization to access your information. And 3, you need to be concerned with what information is there. Suppose they're saying something that is not so. You have an opportunity to dispute what is reported by the credit bureau. Everybody hearing me?
Can you repeat that, please?
You have an opportunity to dispute what is reported by the credit bureau if you see it to be inaccurate.
Can you explain that, please?
All right. So let's say, for example, I took a loan about 2 years ago, and I was expected to repay the loan in 1 year. Every month, there's a particular amount I was to be paying, right? I know that I paid all of those payments on time and I've paid off that loan. But when my credit bureau report comes, I see where I'm shown that I was paying that loan and I paid 3 times late. And I know I never pay late. And I'm showing that I have a balance on that loan and I know I paid off that loan. I can dispute that with the credit bureau. Not with the financial institution that I am borrowing from now, because they have nothing to do with that. They basically just take the information from the credit bureau and they're going to use it to assess you, right? But the credit bureau would have gathered information from all these different places to score you 1 and to allow for the different institutions to access your information. So I think the credit bureau allows you to get a free report once per year, and you can review that report and you can dispute the information that is there.
Okay, but what proof would you have to say that you paid off the loan?
All right, I like it. You have to provide the proof now. So maybe when you were paying that loan, it was a salary deduction that was coming out of your pay. You can show them proof that it was coming out of your pay. You never even paid. Every month, them deduct that money out of your money before you get it. So you can give them that proof, right?
Right.
Or you may have to go back to the original institution where you took the loan and say to them, I want you to show me Give me that printout of how I paid this loan and when the amounts were paid and so on, because I'm seeing where the credit bureau says X and I know it's not so. So let's say you didn't get a salary deduction. Yes?
Sorry,
Question?
miss. You're saying something that I'm very uncomfortable with at this point in time because, wow. So you're saying to me now, or saying to us now, that if I'm taking a loan and it means that, well, how would I get a copy of the report? It means that I'd have to pay times 2 because I have to pay one for myself and one to the financial institution. Or do
No,
I get a copy of it?
no. So you can request from the financial institution to give you a copy. But what I'm saying
Right.
is each credit bureau, based on the act that governs them, they are required to give one free credit report per year to the person or persons who requested from them.
Oh, so you're saying to me then, whether or not I'm taking a loan, I can go to the credit bureau and request
Yes.
a statement. Okay, thank you for that information.
Yes.
Didn't know. But I have a
Yes.
question, because the scenario that you are creating or you put on the table is one that is concerning. Because recently I did a transaction recently, and I was told, oh, but you came and you collected this before. I was like, no, I didn't. And I said, are you this person? I sure am. And just to, by way of going, I recognize that there is someone within this region that has my first, middle, and last name.
Really?
It is so ironic. First, middle, and last name. It also
Okay.
happened to me some time ago when I was checking on air travel, and I called one of the companies to say, how many points do I have? Do I have enough for a free ticket? And the person said, okay, sir, let me check it. And the person knows my name and put it in there. Oh yeah, you can fly to Dubai. You have more than enough points. And I said, are you sure it's me? And the person said, yes, aren't you XYZ? And I was like, I sure am, but to my knowledge, I don't think I have that many points. And they said, but I'm looking at the system and I'm seeing, hold on, no, it's not you. So it is 2 times now that situation has happened to me. So I'm a little concerned now that you're saying this, because what if now I want to purchase a new car? And the bank says, based on my preliminary investigations, or, I see that you are more than qualified. You should be in a position to repay the loan. You have borrowed from us before and made good on your payments. So, but the regulation says I have to go to the credit bureau, and then no one says, oh, sir, I'm sorry, but we can't lend you because you have defaulted a loan, your student loan bureau, your student loan stuff. I was like, but no, I didn't. But in fact, it is someone else. Is there any possibility that PRNs can get intertwined? Well, I know names can get intertwined, but TRNs or whatever it is to say that, and I don't have proof. Joanna asked us now, you have to provide proof. But what if I don't have my final payments from you to say that I paid my tuition in full? How do I get out of that?
All right. So TRNs are not supposed to get crossed. That's not supposed to happen. But then, this is Jamaica, anything can happen. So the truth is that the financial institutions, when they are sending information to the credit bureaus, your TRN is very important. That is what is used to identify you. And it's supposed to be a unique number. So whether we have the same name or not, our TRNs ought not to be the same.
Right.
Right. And so that in and of itself is supposed to be one of the safeguards that is there to ensure that we don't mix persons up when it comes on to the credit information, and which is why you really do need to review the credit information that they have there for you, because you don't want there to be a mix up and you end up being affected by somebody else's information, right? So the TRN is one of the safeguards, and when you do get your credit bureau report, there's other information. Your date of birth is gonna be there, where you live is gonna be there. You'd be amazed at the amount of information they have on you.
Okay.
That where you work, how long you work there, when you move, that kind of thing. I don't know, but this
It's
information,
Google Meet.
it is very sensitive information, which is
Wow.
why you have to give these financial institutions the authorization to actually access it.
But isn't that intrusive though? I'm just wondering. No, I can understand you're lending me your money, so you have to safeguard your money because you want to
Right.
make sure at the end of the month, at the end of whatever period, you
Mhm.
collect your money plus your interest. But I'm
Mhm.
just wondering how intrusive this is. But then again, no, in the United States, I think their social security has every bit of information about them here. Their date,
Right.
their eye color, their hair color.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Okay,
And
makes
that's what
sense.
that's where they want to take our tax registration number as well. What do you think the fight
Okay.
between the Christian community and the government has been about? It has been about this
This
very thing that they want
needs,
to have so much information on you with this
yeah, needs,
this needs thing, right? And
right.
then, in terms of safeguarding, because the information is so much and so sensitive, it is very important the safeguards around that information and what it's going to be used for. You understand? So that is why this once a year free credit bureau report, really persons should be accessing it. Tiana, you work in the bank. I want you to go and ask the loan officer about how you get your free credit bureau report.
Okay.
So you can take a look at it. But I want us to, I'm going to give out your assignment, which is gonna be is gonna be focused on the credit bureau and credit bureau reporting in Jamaica. And you're gonna find out as much as you can about this because it's important. It's gonna affect you, right? So where as a financial institution can probably use the history that they have with you. In other words, if you have borrowed from them before and you're coming back for a second, third, fourth, fifth loan, and they can look at how you paid the previous loans, that's not enough. They want to see what you're doing out there when they're not watching you. Right? So let us try to I'm gonna, Mr. Shan, is it that I should share that assignment with you and you'll send it out to them, or how do you want us to proceed with that?
No, this is your class. You share your assignment because so we have with my assignment too. And Tiana, you're not
Okay,
supposed to get more than me
we'll
here.
collaborate on it.
All right, no problem.
We'll
Well, it's very
collaborate.
interesting though. It is very hands-on and very practical. The things that you're sharing, because one of the things that I say to my the people that I'm in, the circles with, that and I hear Tiana, I hear Joanna, and I hear Dana also said it. I don't like loans and I don't want any loan. But the truth of the matter is, as a people, unless you were born with gold spoon, the very rich gold in your mouth,
Right.
you will have to take a loan. But for me personally, that's my personal conviction. A loan is to be taken out from mortgage and education and a car.
Right.
Those are the three things that I take a loan for. I'm not going to take no loan to go buy for go for no vacation. Are you crazy? When I come back from vacation, how I pay back that loan after the novelty wears off? No, I'm not going to take no loan to go buy no new clothes because I get a new job. No, man. So for me, those are the three things that I will take a loan for. An education is a means to an end. A car is a means to an end. And a house, another means to an end. So it is important that you cannot, and this is why, and again, I have friends who say to me that credit cards are from the devil. Could be if it is that you are easily led, but that also helps to build your credit report. So it is that they can look at you to say, you know, even though, let me go ahead because you have an excellent payback history on your credit card, so you are a likely candidate. But
Right.
there's no way you can stand alone and achieve the things that you really want to achieve in this life without having somebody else to help you. It's very important. So it's a good thing, as Miss says, guys, that you know all of you are excellent candidates in you know, as potential borrowers, because they don't like a loan, you're going to ensure that you pay back. I am one of those people that is really petrified in taking loans, but so I know I am not going to have lunch today because I must pay my loan, because I don't want to see myself on TikTok. Give me my money back. I don't want that. It's embarrassing. But yes, guys, and I mean, I'm not saying that you may need a credit card, but one of the safest and fastest ways to build your credit is really having a credit card so that they can see and track how it is that you are paying back. But you have to be responsible in the use of the credit card. But it's very important though. We can't do this alone. We're going to need a loan in order to help us achieve the things that we really want to achieve in this life. But it's very interesting. I love how it is that you're putting it together. I am learning a lot. I'm putting a lot of things into perspective. And at some point in time, I know it may come out into the assignments and it may come out into other things as it relates to the acquisition, because this loan amortization that I know they were introduced to amortization from theory of interest, right, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Sir, what was
I
the word that you used just now?
loan amortization when you're doing like mortgages. So a
Oh.
mortgage, how they calculate, well, I'm thinking how they calculate a mortgage is different from how it is that the banks would calculate a car loan, right?
Yes.
So right, so the loan amortization, no, that I believe is out of the pit of hell. But I know that will come up because I'm just waiting until you get there, miss, and then I'll unmute. I'll mute now because I am waiting until you get there so we can have additional conversations on that. But I can understand that the bank or the financial institutions go into business to make money.
That's right.
So they are going to try and make as much money, and as a result of that, them collect them interest first because they want to make the money before. Yeah, so I'll wait until you get your miss because I have a lot to say on that. But very interesting. I like what is it that I'm hearing, and I'm learning as I go along too.
Okay, marvelous. So we're almost at the end of the class, and this is my last slide before I say we're going to send out the first assignment, and when that assignment is due, and we need to agree though on the face-to-face. So we'll do after this slide, we'll do the final arrangements on our face-to-face class after this. But let's just come to a conclusion here. How is the loan supported? And we have talked about a lot of these things already since we've been here. And we talk about the fact that I have to know that is you. I have to know that is the right Mr. Shand in front of me, so I need ID. Right? Under my loan documentation here, you remember Mr. Shand said there's somebody else with his name. So I need identification to know that is the right person and that you never go and take somebody else's information, because that is not that doesn't happen, but that in and of itself is fraud and it takes us somewhere else, right?
And as a lot of Jamaican businesses love doing, you have to have a letter from a JP, because the JP know you more than yourself.
Supposed to.
Yes, yes, a lot of businesses require that. Most financial institutions will just ask that you have a reference, and normally they will tell you who qualifies as a reference. Either somebody who already is a part of their institution, or sometimes they tell you your pastor or the JP or so on, and they give you a list, right? So they can support somewhat who you are and probably where to find you, right? So the signed loan agreement is also important. And, you know, some of us don't like to read the fine print. But you see, the signed loan agreement is important. It is what lays out the terms of your loan. It's going to tell you when is the first payment. what is the interest rate, when the loan's supposed to finish, now when is the last payment. And I like the fact that Mr. Shan brought up the amortization schedule. I'm really interested to know what you have learned about that in the theory of interest. And that class is supposed to be a very interesting class. You must pay attention. It's joined together with this one, so to speak, because it's important that you understand so that when you are repaying your loans, you do so with the knowledge, right? So I'm going to say one thing in relation to that, and then we're going to deal with that another time. He said that with mortgages, you pay back your interest first. That not sound wicked.
Yeah.
All right. So guess what now? There are ways and means around certain things, right? So there's a thing they call prepayment. You can prepay your loan. So I originally made an arrangement to pay you back your loan over 5 years. And boy, I probably struggle through the first year, but we get a promotion year 2, right? So we start make more money now. So I say, all right, here what? I want to pay back this loan faster than the 5 years. How do I go about doing that? Do I just take a big lump sum and should pay $5,000 per month? I say, all right, I'm going to pay 15 this month. I could have do that, but then I leave it up to the institution how to distribute my money. But because you are aware of your loan amortization and how to deal with mortgages, you say, listen, I am paying back my standard $5,000 per month, and I'm going to pay you $10,000 more. And I want this $10,000 to go to my principal, not the interest.
You know, that's some of those, I don't want to use the double word that ends with an ED. It has an I and a K in there too. But you know that some financial institutions say that you'll have to make an appointment before you can actually pay towards your principal.
Yes. So that is where I'm going now. So some institutions, them no want you come too quick, come do that. Especially when it comes to mortgages, they penalize you for prepaying your mortgage within, I think, is the first year. But thereafter, you are allowed to do it. Yes, you have to tell them beforehand. As a matter of fact, I think they also restrict how much you can prepay. So then kind of make it a little difficult. Them say you can't prepay less than about 3 months worth of payment. Some of them, right? But it's for you to know these things and strategize. You understand? If you don't know, you're going to sit on there paying for however many years when you come into a liquor funds and you say, boy, I really want to get rid of this thing. You need to know how. And if you don't have that knowledge, you will never ask the right questions and you'll never get the right information so that you can achieve what you want to. That's what I'm getting at. So with the theory of interest, I want you guys to pay attention in the class and ask the right questions. Follow? Following. Great. And there are different types of loans. There are reducing balance loans and there are straight line loans and how they distribute the interest versus the principal and your repayment. I want you guys to pay attention and come teach me about it too. Right? Because it's not just me one of knowledge. You are learning some things in the principle of interest there too. Right? All right, let me hurry up and get through this slide so we can deal with the housekeeping matters. All right. So we talked about the proof of income. You tell me that you're gonna want my pay slip. Mr. Shan said I need to know where I live. So I need my proof of address. Right? And the loan repayment schedule, we talk about the principle of in your principle of interest class, you have that schedule that you must get, or that is part of your documentation. I will show you, okay, this is the amount that is going to principal. This is the amount that is going to interest every time I pay each month, right? We have our declarations, or our authorizations. So I need to give them authority to access my credit score. That means I'm going to have to sign something to say that. Some banks also, if you're not buying a brand new car, you have to sign to say that you're satisfied with this used car that you have purchased and that nothing wrong with it and you're good, right? Also, if there is collateral involved in your loan, usually we want to know what is the value of the collateral. So if you're pledging a vehicle, we want to know what's the value of that vehicle. That's if it's not a new vehicle. Normally, for the brand new vehicles, they don't require a valuation. It's only when the vehicle is a used vehicle or a second-hand vehicle or a third or fourth, right? But a valuation report is usually needed. But if it's like we spoke about a home equity loan earlier, and we spoke about the fact that we might have taken a mortgage on a loan on this house, and we're coming back for some more money to access some funds based on what we now own in the house. So they want to know what the house is valued, right? So valuation reports are necessary when collateral is in question, right? Personal guarantees, those are personal guarantees are normally taken, not in all cases for personal loans, mostly for the corporate or small business type loans, but they do sometimes factor in the personal loans because let's say, for example, Joanna want to borrow some money. Joanna don't own nothing. Or she can borrow. Her mother own a house. So I say, Mommy, you can take a loan off for the house. But Mommy, I forgot to sign a guarantee if make Joanna can use fair asset because Joanna name not on the asset. Everybody follow what I said a while ago? We're going to go into it in more detail when we talk about collateral. We're not there yet. We're just doing the introduction, right? And then we need collateral documentation. So other than knowing that the collateral exists or that there is something that you're pledging, there's normally a legal document that indicates the lien. That word lien, you ever heard it used yet? In the financial sector, that is?
No.
Okay. A lien is the same as they sometimes refer to it as a charge or an interest in a particular asset or your collateral. So when I take out a mortgage, the financial institution has a lien on my property. I can say that another way. The financial institution has a charge on my property. I can say that another way. My home is the collateral for this mortgage. Follow?
Following.
Right. So the lien is just another word for your security or your collateral. Okay. And like I said, there are different legal documents that are required as evidence evidence of the collateral. Now, in the same way that we have a credit bureau, in more recent times, there has also been the introduction of an institution that records, a centralized institution that records the liens or charges on property. So I don't know if you guys would have been paying attention at the time. At one point, they were even considering for people to use like them cow and them goat as collateral in support of saying that this centralized institution where all the liens are documented, that it would be something that you could have evidence of because you can now register your lien. So there is a registry for all charges or liens on property, or they call it chattel, when it comes on to your pledging an asset as backup for your loan. The acronym, we'll go into it a little further when we deal with collateral. There's an acronym for it. I think it's NCIP for that particular centralized organization that records liens. Okay. So our types of collateral, just quickly. And we talk about the fact that the collateral is something that you pledge as security. You have cash secured loans, and your types of collateral there might be deposits, bonds, shares, mutual funds, or it's real estate for your mortgage, or your motor vehicle, or your furniture and appliances, or your personal guarantee. And some of the legal documents that might come into play is a document called a bill of sale, which is usually over real estate. And there's something called a mortgage deed for mortgages. And for motor vehicles, it's a bill of sale. That's the legal name of these documents. That is evidence of your lien or charge of the financial institution's lien or charge over your asset. Okay? Following? Or any questions?
No, miss.
All right, good. So next class, we will continue and we'll go into another topic. I have another colleague who is going to join me at some point to speak about collateral, about corporate loans, sorry, and problem loans. So one of the things about problem loans is it affects the origination of a loan. So when we spoke earlier, we said what you want from the person when they're going to borrow. Everything that happens when you are first getting that loan is affected by the problem people them. So any people them that give problem, they inform the institutions on how to treat the people who coming in for loans, right? So that is one of the things that problem loans direct sometimes loan origination and some of the things that happen in loan origination. But other than that, there are ways to manage problem loans, and there are approaches when it comes on to managing problem loans. And so we'll just introduce you to that lightly and give you information on that. I will arrange with her when she comes in and the material that she's going to share. Next class we will pick up, but I want for you to get your assignments because I need for your assignments to be on time. We only have 6 weeks, guys. 6 weeks. So I need for your assignment to come in, and I need you to be careful to do your assignments well because each of them is going to contribute to your final grade, right? So Mr. Shan and I will speak further about that as to how you're going to get the assignments. I can give them to you straight up from the get-go. You know when they're due, you know what is required of you, right? And that is that. Your first assignment is going to relate to credit bureaus. So you're going to do some research and you're going to come back and present and share that information after you have turned in your assignments. And then your second assignment will be a little bit more pointed to the lending process. And I'll give you that information as soon as possible, right? I want to see how you do the first assignment so that I can see how I can best guide you in doing the second one, because the second one is going to be more, I'd say, more specific and more individual. Each individual is going to have to really think and analyze and present information, right? So let's work together and let's keep the communication going. Now, I was hoping for a face-to-face class for this Saturday as the second class, as opposed to class tomorrow. But let us discuss that. Is Saturday a possibility?
And not for me, miss.
All right. No Saturday at all. And that means no Saturday at all. Is a possibility.
There is a possibility, just not this one.
Okay.
Miss, my job requires me to work on a Saturday.
Oh, I see. I get you. What are your working hours on a Saturday?
8 to 4:30.
Wow. Okay. All right. That looked like we have a face-to-face class. All right. I was really hoping we would have one, but I guess if we don't, is what it is. I was really hoping we would have one. All right. So Wednesdays and Thursdays are okay, 6 to 8.
Yes, miss.
Yes,
All
miss.
right. All right, great. That's great then.
right. I'm sorry, miss. I am back now. I wasn't hearing at one point in time. So
Really?
right, I don't know what happened. So I had placed something in the chat to say that I wasn't hearing. I think it's on my end though. So I need to know though, because the schedule that I did on our timetable system was Wednesday and Saturday. So I might know to change it to Thursday at 6 to 8 as well. I will need to
Well, one
know.
student says she works on a Saturday, so it's out for her.
Right. So I would need to know so that I can put it on the system so that they can generate the Zoom links beforehand. So I will need to do it. I will need to do it like tonight so that the link will be generated for tomorrow. If it is at it's a mind of the group and along with Miss, if we are meeting tomorrow at 6 to 8. What is it?
It's a
On
pair.
Thursdays I would be late because I have to reach work at 6, so I'm not sure.
Oh, Thursday is not good for you then.
Can we put the online class, the next online class, to do weekend instead in the afternoon, in the evening?
What? Evening class on a
weekend-
Saturday?
Miss have to
Just-
put her Miss have to put her oxtail to season and to do everything for Sunday, you know. And Miss has responsibility at church, so
Or
Saturday
the class
evening
can be on Monday.
may not be good. All right, but remember, you know, Tiana, I think, well, but hold on though. Six
Monday.
won't work tomorrow. 6 won't work tomorrow because don't you guys have um Lord help me, Lord. Joanna, don't you have
Theory
theory of
of
interest?
interest and logic.
Right. So why are you suggesting tomorrow? I just remember the timetable. Why are you
I did
suggesting
not
tomorrow?
suggest anything.
No, but you heard the
But
suggestion,
you've
so you
been
should say
quiet,
something.
Joanna.
You remain quiet, so you should say something to say because you're the one who say you can't come on a Saturday. Say to them also, no, that Thursday is not good for me. Because I just remember a while ago, because it's a good thing. If I didn't say I was going to change anything, although the system would have told me that there's a clash. Yeah, so
Somebody
Thursday.
suggesting Monday.
Monday, I have a class from, sir, what class? I think I have class from
No,
7 to
hold on.
9, right?
I can switch the linear algebra because I need this. So I can switch the linear algebra to some other time. So if Monday is good, I can switch my Monday with you all, Joe, to facilitate this class. So I am fine.
Okay,
So
Monday is okay.
Monday's okay for you. They
Is
know how
okay with
Monday's feels.
everybody.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. TT, how you
There's a
say Monday?
fourth student that is not here. I don't know.
No, well,
Monday.
the fourth student will have to fit in. Yeah, we'll somehow have to just fit in. You're sorry, Tina, you're saying that Monday is good?
Yes, sir.
Good. So what I'll do then, I will change my Monday to another day, Joanna. You and I can talk offline about that time. So we can facilitate the other session on Monday. All right.
Monday,
Okay.
6 to 8.
Is it 68, miss?
Yes.
Okay, 68. All agreed for everybody, Monday 68?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. They know?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So I'll change it on the timetable then. Well, I don't have to be in a rush to change it now, seeing that it's not tomorrow's a class. So I'm going to change it on the timetable so that at least you will be all able to get the link. And I'm going to speak with them tomorrow. I tried having a conversation today, but we are off pretty much for 2 days because of the earthquake, to see if I can have these courses open up, but we can talk about that offline as well. All right, so that's it for me on the classes. So Monday and Wednesday, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Okay.
Right.
I hear what Mrs. asking, and she's trying to find out if there is even one Saturday that we can have a face-to-face. Joe, is it possible for you to um because you see what is happening, is that I think Miss would want to put in a little bit more, cover a little bit more during a face-to-face session than she would on the 2-hour session here. Is there a possibility that you can request a Saturday, Joe? I know Christmas is coming up, but can you put in a request, say tomorrow, for one of these Saturdays?
Sure, not any Saturday, anytime soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. All right. Thank you.
We'll work with what we have
All right.
and see how best we can manage the time that we have to get through the material. There is one day that I think I did say we wouldn't be having a class, but I think it now doesn't matter because that day is not one of the days we'd normally meet. I think it was a Thursday. No, the 28th, I think it is. You hearing me, guys?
Yes, I am.
I think it's the 28th of November that we wouldn't be having a class, but I've set something for you to do during that time as a group. So I'm hoping that you are responsible enough to come together to do that, right?
The 28th is actually the doing, Miss.
I think is that Tuesday? Is the 29th then?
Okay, that's a Wednesday, right?
Right. That on the 29th of November, I wouldn't be able to facilitate the class, but I'm going to set an assignment for you guys to do on that particular day. And you can always, refresh yourselves and go over certain things when that time comes. Because based on the restrictions that we have in terms of the 6 weeks, you guys will have to put in some work without my being there at times.
Right. Will we be able to get your PowerPoint, Miss, your notes?
Yes.
All right.
I could do that.
What we normally do is we normally communicate a lot. I don't know how you prefer to do it. Could be via email or WhatsApp group, but we normally communicate via WhatsApp group a lot. So what you could do, maybe you could send it, if you don't want to be a part of the WhatsApp, that's understandable. Or you could send the information, but could create a WhatsApp group, and then the information could be circulated there. So in the event that we need to touch base, it's like a one-stop shop. Say something were to come, you don't have any electricity or the
Right.
internet. Right.
Right. I think it makes sense for us to have a WhatsApp group, but also for the email, because I can email you information that I wouldn't necessarily share in a WhatsApp group.
Fair enough. And that's perfectly understood. Perfectly understood. So we can create an email group.
Right.
And of course, students, your teacher is not the one who will do these administrative work. So, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and create a WhatsApp group, and they can create a group email, and the information is shared. So it is that we can all log on. So whichever one of the three of you can go ahead and share the WhatsApp, create a WhatsApp group, fine. You have my contact. You can send it off to me. I can send it off to Miss. And also you can go ahead and do a group email, or what we could do, if you don't want to do a group email, you could send me your email addresses, your ECC email addresses, that is, or I should have your ECC email addresses. I could send off to Miss, so it is that we can create an email thread. So that at least, when we're responding, we just respond to that thread. Instead of creating a group that we're not going to use after these 6 weeks. So I think we could do the thread as opposed to the stuff. So I can send you the emails, Miss, of the students.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So guys, any questions at this point? That's about it for the class today. And we'll pick up on Monday from 6 to 8.
Thank you
And
very
I'll
much, Miss.
send out your assignments. Yes.
Miss Mark hard.
Well, you're going to find that out. That is relative. But
Sooner or
no,
later. All right. So this is real competition, you know, guys. Tiana, can copy from me, please?
Sir?
Pete, you not answering me? You not answering me? I
you
can
see,
copy from you,
because
please?
Tiana have resources that other people might not have.
Can I take it? Oh my goodness, Tiana, you and I are best friends, right? Jojo, you can have information, Tina, because you are at a place that is classified as a microfinancing. You see me learning? um, you know, you need to find one of those jobs so it is that I can come and copy from here. But guys, let's get this going. We don't have much time, and it's very interesting. My interest is as at the max. Let us get the interest rate going. So it is interesting interest rate going so that we can maximize what it is that we can learn during this course. Thank you again, Miss. Have a good one.
Thanks to you too. Have a great evening all.
Bless you. Take care, guys. Bye bye.